Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where we bring you the latest and most exciting sports news every single day. Now, if you thought the Detroit Lions were done making noise after day one of the NFL Draft, think again. Things are about to get real interesting. After selecting Tyleik Williams, the massive defensive tackle out of Ohio State, in the first round, it's safe to say the Lions have already made their mark. But now, with the second and third rounds on the horizon, all eyes are on what's next. And trust me, what happens tonight could very well change the entire course of this season and, potentially, seasons to come. Brad Holmes, Lions GM, has made it clear there's still some really good players out there. If I wake up with that feeling, and Dan Campbell has that feeling too, we might get aggressive. That's a bold statement, and if there's one thing we know about Brad Holmes, it's that when he says aggressive, he means aggressive. With the 60th and 102nd overall picks, the Lions aren't exactly flush with picks to move up, but you'd better believe there's a chance they could still make a splash, whether it's through a trade or picking a guy who falls further than expected. So who's on the radar? One name that keeps popping up, and could very well be in the mix for Detroit, is Nic Scorton, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. Now don't get too comfortable with the idea that he's just a name floating around, because, honestly, there's something about his skill set and fit in Detroit that has me wondering if this could be the move that takes this team to the next level. At 6'4" and 280 pounds, Scorton is everything the Lions are looking for in an edge rusher: strong, athletic, and relentless. Last season, he tallied 14 tackles for loss and 5 sacks in the SEC, a conference known for its hard-hitting, high-level competition. And don't forget his monster 10-sack season at Purdue in 2023. His versatility, power, and ability to disrupt the quarterback's rhythm are exactly what Detroit needs on the edge opposite Aiden Hutchinson. But here's where things get interesting. Hasn't exactly been pegged as a surefire first-round pick. Could he fall to the second round? Could the Lions have their eyes on him at pick 60? Or, and this is where it gets really fun, could Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell be so sold on Scorton's potential that they're considering a bold move to trade up? After all, Scorton has the kind of raw talent that can't be overlooked. A player like him could completely change the Lions' pass rush, adding the kind of pressure they've been lacking for years. Now, think about it for a second. Detroit already has Hutchinson, the rising star who has shown flashes of becoming one of the league's top edge rushers. But imagine the kind of nightmare this duo could create for opposing quarterbacks to powerhouse edge rushers with relentless motors coming at you from both sides. The thought of this tandem is almost too good to be true, but with Holmes' track record of bold, strategic moves, it's not out of the question that Scorton could be at the top of the Lions draft board right now. But let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. The Lions have a lot of needs on defense, but edge rusher is one of the most glaring. Sure, they've addressed it in past drafts, but what they're missing is that consistent, game-changing pass rusher who can disrupt plays on a weekly basis. Scorton could be the guy to fill that role. It's not just about getting a solid edge rusher, it's about finding someone who can immediately come in and make an impact. Someone who can get after the quarterback in a way that keeps offensive coordinators up at night. That's exactly what Scorton brings to the table. But the speculation doesn't end there. Could the Lions be waiting to see how the board falls tonight? Is there a chance that Scorton could slip a few picks? And if he does, could the Lions be in position to pounce? There's a certain unpredictability to the draft that makes scenarios like this so tantalizing. Every team has its preferences, and every draft board is different. Some teams will overlook talent like Scorton's because they prioritize other positions, while others may fall in love with his versatility and upside. If he falls to Detroit's range, you'd have to think the Lions are all over it. And if Scorton doesn't fall to 60, could the Lions be willing to make a move to get him? They have a few trade assets perhaps, a future pick, or even some of their current roster depth could be used to jump up a few spots. After all, Holmes has never been one to shy away from making aggressive moves, especially when it comes to building a team with the kind of long-term potential that could make Detroit a serious contender in the NFC. Trading up wouldn't be out of character, and it might be just the thing the Lions need to land Scorton, someone who could contribute immediately and change the defense for the better. But that's not all. Think about the competition for Scorton's services. There are other teams in the second round who need edge rushers, and some may be willing to move up to secure him. If Holmes really wants him, he'll have to act fast. The question is, how badly does Detroit want Scorton, and what are they willing to give up to make it happen? The closer we get to day 2, the more exciting it becomes. And if Scorton does end up in Detroit, it could be a massive win for this team, one that bolsters the pass rush and gives them even more firepower on defense. And consider this, the Lions have been making bold moves over the past few seasons, and Brad Holmes has a track record of hitting on later round gems. A player like Scorton may not be a household name yet, but with the right coaching, he could very well become one of the best edge rushers in the league. His ceiling is sky high, and his ability to dominate in both the run and passing game gives him the versatility that Detroit's defense desperately needs. Detroit could very well be eyeing him not just as a rotational player, but as someone who could start early and grow into a star. This would also be the kind of pick that could send a clear message to the rest of the NFC North. The Lions are no longer just about rebuilding, they're about competing. Adding a player like Scorton to the roster would be a statement. It would mean that Detroit isn't waiting around for other teams to make their move, they're taking control and aggressively shaping their future. Scorton could be the anchor of a dominant defense, a player who disrupts the flow of games and changes the course of Detroit's fortunes in the NFC North. But here's the wild card. What if the Lions already have an inside track on intentions? Could they have gauged his interest in joining the team through their pre-draft meetings? It's not out of the realm of possibility that Holmes and Campbell have already made a quiet but convincing pitch to Scorton. Players are often influenced by the team's culture, coaching staff, and the direction they see their future going. And if Scorton feels like he could be the missing piece to an up-and-coming defense, it might just seal the deal for him too. Land in Detroit, but here's where it gets a little crazy. Could Detroit be looking at Scorton, not just as an immediate starter but as part of a long-term plan to dominate the NFC North? The Packers, Bears, and Vikings are all reshaping their rosters. And if the Lions get this pick right, if they land someone like Scorton, Detroit could be the team that stands above the rest in just a few short years. It's no secret that the Lions have one of the most exciting young defenses in the league, and adding someone like Scorton to that mix could be the finishing touch. So, what do you think? Is Nic Scorton going to be a Detroit Lion? Could Brad Holmes be preparing to pull the trigger on a move to get him, or will the Lions go in a different direction entirely? There's no doubt that Day 2 of the draft is shaping up to be just as thrilling as Day 1, and I'm excited to see what the Lions do next. Personally, I think Scorton would be a perfect fit. His potential is undeniable, and if he falls into Detroit's lap, I think it's a no-brainer for Holmes to take him. But I want to know what you think. Could Scorton be the edge rusher the Lions have been looking for all this time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I can't wait to see what you all have to say about this exciting possibility. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an update. The draft isn't over yet, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and go Lions!